The Biden-Harris bus is leading the Trump train. Woo!
Look at that! Oh my God! Somebody said that they had police escort, but I guess they defunded the police and the escort left because it ain't nowhere around.
I think that thing is with the Biden-Harris bus.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that white car is.
I guess escort the Biden
look,
bus.
Look.
Look at how they're driving.
We're in New Braunfels, Texas, and we are welcoming Kamala Harris with the New Braunfels Trump train. Woo!
Funniest thing I've ever seen, man. They're like chasing him. This is in New Braunfels right now, and they're like, they got. Look at this. They're like literally escorting him out of town.
We're just following the Trump train that is following the Biden bus.
There's some Trump supporters that have showed up behind the Biden-Harris bus that has been traveling all over the country.
I'm calling you, lady. Your little Biden-Harris sign is not going to do anything. They're lying to you, and you're a sheep. You are a sheep. You're a sheep.
This is what the Trump supporters do. This is who the Trump supporters are. This is what Trump has done to America. This is what Trump. Look at this.
Let's go. Let's go. Please speak.
I hope you're all going to be poll watchers. I hope you are.
It'd be great if you guys all get together, head down to McAllen, and give Kamala Harris a nice Trump train welcome.
If Donald Trump loses, there's a real danger that he will try to overturn the results and steal the election. And we have a very good idea of how he'd try to do it. This isn't a conspiracy theory. Trump has repeatedly told us that he won't accept the results of the election if he loses.
It'll end up being a rigged election, or they will never come out with an outcome. They'll have to do it again.
So the only way they can take this election away from us
is if this is a rigged election. I don't want to see a crooked election. This election will be the most rigged election in history.
That may sound impossible, but unfortunately, our election system is poorly designed and vulnerable to an attack by a would-be autocrat like Donald Trump. Here's how it works. There are 2 vote counts that determine who wins the presidency. The first count is of voters' ballots, and it happens between now and December 8th. While there's no hard deadline for states to finish counting voters' ballots, federal law creates a strong incentive for states to finish by December 8th. The second count is of the Electoral College votes themselves. When you vote for a presidential candidate, you're actually voting for a slate of electors, actual people who vote to elect the president. Those 538 electors, collectively referred to as the Electoral College, then vote to choose the president. Each state's electors meet in their state on December 14th. They vote for the president and send a record of their votes to Congress. Then, on January 6th, the newly elected Congress, not the current one, counts Electoral College votes. This count in Congress is what actually determines who the president is. If Trump tries to steal the presidency, he'll do it by disrupting both of these counts. Between Election Day and December 14th, we should expect Trump and his allies to disrupt the ballot count and try to delay it past when the Electoral College meets on December 14th. His campaign could file legal and administrative challenges against ballots. We may see armed white supremacist militias attempt to directly prevent boards of elections from counting ballots, and Trump may even order federal agents to seize ballots or halt the count in some places. Creating chaos, delaying the ballot count, and potentially making it impossible to complete the ballot count before the Electoral College meets on December 14th would all be intended to sow public doubt about the legitimacy of the election. That's when the Republicans would make their move. Normally, the governor of a state is responsible for certifying which candidate's electors should be appointed to the Electoral College based on which candidate won the state's popular vote. This is where the constitutional crisis could begin. Republican state legislatures in key swing states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, each of which has a Democratic governor and a Republican-led state legislature, could declare that the election has been corrupted by fraud, that an accurate ballot count is impossible, and that Trump is the rightful winner. The legislature could then vote to illegally appoint a second, rival slate of Trump electors to vote alongside the legitimately appointed slate of Biden electors on December 14th. That would result in the state sending 2 contradictory votes to Congress. This may sound far-fetched, but it's happened before. In 1876, 4 states sent competing slates of electors to Congress in the election between Democrat Samuel Tilden and Republican Rutherford B. Hayes. The result was a major constitutional crisis. Following protracted negotiations, which concluded only days before the inauguration, the 2 parties reached a political compromise to determine the winner. Hayes was sworn in as the president in return for the withdrawal of federal troops from the South, thus effectively ending Reconstruction and ushering in a century of Jim Crow. If a state sends 2 slates of electors to Congress, Congress must determine which electors to count and which to discard. And if that happens, and the outcome of the presidential election comes down to a vote in Congress, we can be sure that Republicans will do everything in their power to make Trump the winner on January 6th. They'll do that even if it means violating political norms and even the law. What we're talking about is not an election, it's a coup. We will be in a fight to save democracy. The good news is that if Trump tries to steal the election, we can block him if we take decisive action. If Trump tries to steal the election, we need to protest by the tens of millions. And we need to keep protesting until Trump concedes and leaves the White House. A contested election won't be a legal fight. It will be a struggle of political will. And we need to demonstrate that the American people will not tolerate a coup, that we will fight to defend the Constitution. But protest will not be enough. We also need elected Democrats to do their part. Key swing states, including Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, have Democratic governors, and Democrats have control of the House. Democrats may also take control of the U.S. Senate in this election. That gives Democrats the power to stop Trump if they treat this like a no-holds-barred political fight to save democracy. Specifically, we need Democrats to do 3 things. First, Joe Biden must not concede unless and until every single vote has been counted and it becomes clear that Trump is the legitimate winner. Biden has to be willing to take the fight all the way to Congress. Second, if Trump prevents all of the ballots from being counted, or if Republican legislatures appoint fraudulent Trump electors, Democratic governors need to be willing to appoint Biden electors. Third, Democrats in Congress need to do whatever it takes to stop Republicans from counting illegitimate Trump electors, up to and including shutting down Congress and preventing electoral college votes from being counted. If you want to know more, go to www.thecountguide.com. Becky Bond, Brandon Evans, and I just released a comprehensive guide on what Trump can do to steal the election and how we can stop him. The only way Trump can steal this election is if we let him. If we fight for our democracy, we will win.
People were calling you, instead of Mayor Pete, they've been calling you Slayer Pete. I don't know if you heard that.
Well, there's a classic parlor game of trying to find a little bit of daylight between running mates. And if people want to play that game, we could look into why an evangelical Christian like Mike Pence wants to be on a ticket with the president caught with a porn star, or how he feels about the immigration policy that he called unconstitutional before he decided to team up with Donald Trump.
The president of the United States is still contagious, as far as we know,
Right.
With a deadly disease, which reflects the overall problem. And I don't know why you would want to be in a room with other people if you were contagious with a deadly disease and you care about other people. But maybe the president doesn't care about other people. The president of the United States calling those who served suckers and losers, saying he didn't understand what's in it for them while he was standing on the hallowed ground of Section 60.
Right, but Mayor Pete, you know the president
anyone who
has said,
served knows what Section 60 means.
Sure,
and,
indeed.
The way he talked about the, folks like John McCain.
I hated to interrupt you, but you know the president has denied that particular story.
Right, but we know he's lying because, even in the middle of his denial,
how do we know he's lying?
He said, I never called well, because part of his denial was he said, I never called John McCain a loser, and anybody with Twitter can go and see where he did. So to believe that he was lying in that part of his sentence, but not another part. I remember this is a guy who, back when he was a wealthy young man in New York, born to privilege, thought to himself, I'm going to let some sucker go to Vietnam in my place, and pretended to be disabled. I mean, if you really believe the president now on this kind of stuff, I got a bridge to sell you.
If they want to make this about the business deals of a government official, let's talk about the president of the United States having a secret Chinese bank account. That's not like, something somebody said that used to work with somebody related to the president in email. That's a matter of documented fact. And they won't even tell us what bank it's with. Does that bother Americans? I'm pretty sure it bothers Americans a lot more than what they're trying to whip up for the last 12 days of this election season.
The president thinks people who play by the rules or people who sacrifice for others are suckers. He thinks people who pay their taxes are suckers. He seems to think Christians are suckers. He'll just hold up the Bible as a prop without ever seeming to look into it. This is part of a clear, consistent, repeated pattern of behavior, although I will say these revelations about just how much this president disrespects the military do represent a new love.
I remember when Rudy Giuliani was widely respected on both sides of the aisle. He's now been reduced to digital dumpster diving.
We have gone through a period where fracking has allowed this country to become energy independent from the Middle East. Don't you think that that was a good change?
In the long run, we're going to need to continue transitioning to more renewable energy, which is obviously not going to happen when the sitting president of the United States says climate change is a hoax and that windmills kill birds. Donald Trump's not great when it comes to keeping a promise that something will be delivered on a certain date. Remember when he told us there'd be a health care plan in 2 weeks? I mean, he said that, 6 weeks ago. He also said that years ago.
That's very true.
Happened.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that actually coming up.
Even though I wish it were true, usually when he says this thing's going to be ready by that date, it usually doesn't
Sometimes
happen.
it isn't.
That's where there's a lack of confidence. We've seen the Vice President Biden campaigning across the country. There's one key difference, which is he's never going to stuff his supporters into a room without masks in an indoor space over the objections of local public health officials. When you do that, you show a level of fundamental disrespect for your own supporters. I mean, think about how low an opinion the Trump campaign must have of Trump supporters, even back to Tulsa, where they made people go into the event. In Tulsa and more recently Nevada, he led people into danger. And you know how he can tell? You can tell what a dim view he has of the intelligence of his own supporters? Was something they were made to do, was sign a waiver saying they wouldn't sue him if they got sick and died. Think about what that says for the respect that he has. It's time to end the Trump presidency and move on.
I'm going to send send this to Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr.
Good.
And tell him that you're...
And tell Donald Trump to come down here. I want to punch him right in the nose. I'm the one guy they can't intimidate. You know, I'm right back in your face if you want to give me a hard time.
Yeah, you got it, you! White power! Yes, there you go, white power. Do you hear that?
Well, take a punch at me. Let's see how brave you are.
Why do you think that Donald Trump's a sexual predator?
He admitted to being a sexual predator.
He did?
Yeah.
When? When did he admit that?
Do you live in a cave, lady? The man jumped out of his cart, stopped my cart, grabbed me by the throat, pulled me out of my cart.
A note on his door saying he needed to be careful if his family is important to him.
If anybody's got a problem with me, come to me. I'm looking forward to being along the road now every day until November the 3rd.
We are here to represent Biden's campaign and Kamala Harris, and we're taking our votes over after we all voted in our ballot.
There's more of us than people realize.
There's a lot more.
Yeah.
A lot more than these Republicans even know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, a lot of people are too afraid to say anything.
I got a message from my really dear friend who lives in northern England, and she said, I just saw a video of a gentleman who lives in the Villages. Is that near you? I said, not only is that near you, but Ed is my hero.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kamala and I are here to make a brief statement, and I'm sure we'll have more to say later, and either tonight or tomorrow. But let me begin by thanking the press for being here and thanking everyone else. My fellow Americans, yesterday once again proved that democracy is the heartbeat of this nation. Just as it has been the heartbeat of this nation for 2 centuries. And even in the face of a pandemic, more Americans voted this election than ever before in American history. Over 150 million people cast their votes. I think that's just extraordinary. And if we had any doubts, we shouldn't have any longer about a government of, by, and for the people. It's very much alive in America. Here, the people rule. Power can't be taken or asserted. It flows from the people, and it's their will that determines who will be the President of the United States, and their will alone. And now, after a long night of counting, it's clear that we're winning enough states to reach 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. I'm not here to declare that we've won, but I am here to report when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners. With all the votes counted, We have won Wisconsin by 20,000 votes, virtually the same margin that President Trump won that state 4 years ago. In Michigan, we lead by over 35,000 votes, and it's growing, a substantially bigger margin than President Trump won Michigan in 2016. Michigan will complete its vote soon, maybe as early as today. And I feel very good about Pennsylvania. Virtually all the remaining ballots to be counted were cast by mail. And we've been winning 78% of the votes by mail in Pennsylvania. We've flipped Arizona and the 2nd District of Nebraska. Of special significance to me is that we've won with the majority of the American people. And every indication is that that majority will grow. We have a popular vote lead of nearly 3 million votes, and every indication is that will grow as well. Indeed, Senator Harris and I are on track to win more votes than any ticket in the history of this country that ever won the presidency and vice presidency. Over 70 million votes. I'm very proud of our campaign. Only 3 presidential campaigns in the past have defeated an incumbent president. When it's finished, God willing, we'll be the 4th. This is a major achievement. This is a major achievement. And it's been a long and difficult campaign, but it's been a more difficult time for our country, a hard time. We've had hard campaigns before. We've faced hard times before. So once this election is finalized and behind us, it'll be time for us to do what we've always done as Americans, to put the harsh rhetoric of the campaign behind us, to lower the temperature, to see each other again, to listen to one another, to hear each other again, and respect and care for one another, to unite, to heal, to come together as a nation. I know this won't be easy. I'm not naive. Neither of us are. I know how deep and hard the opposing views are in our country on so many things. But I also know this as well. To make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as enemies. We are not enemies. What brings us together as Americans is so much stronger than anything that can tear us apart. So let me be clear. We are campaigning as Democrats, but I will govern as an American president. The presidency itself is not a partisan institution. It's the one office in this nation that represents everyone. And it demands a duty of care for all Americans. That is precisely what I will do. I will work as hard for those who didn't vote for me as I will for those who did vote for me. Now, every vote must be counted. No one's going to take our democracy away from us. Not now, not ever. America's come too far. America's fought too many battles. America's endured too much to ever let that happen. We, the people, will not be silenced. We, the people, will not be bullied. We, the people, will not surrender. My friends, I'm confident we'll emerge victorious. But this will not be my victory alone or our victory alone. It'll be a victory for the American people, for our democracy, for America. And there will be no blue states and red states when we win, just the United States of America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.